You built the life you were supposed to want. The career, the income, the title, and from the outside, it's working. So why can't you remember the last time any of it made you feel joy or peace or fulfilled? If that question just landed somewhere in your chest, stay with me because you're not broken and what you're feeling is not what you think it is. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you 3 things: why this emptiness showed up, why nothing you've tried has fixed it, and the one shift that actually changes it. Not motivation, not another practice to add to the pile. The thing underneath all of it. Here's what I already know about your life. You know what tomorrow's going to look like. Not because anything bad's happening, but because it looks like today. And today looked like yesterday. You get up, you do what you do. And honestly, you do it well. Everyone who knows you would say the same thing. She's got it all together, or he's got it figured out. And you do. And that's what makes this so hard to even say out loud. Nothing's broken. Your career is working. Your relationships are working. You're working. But somewhere along the way, and you probably couldn't name the day, the joy quietly drained out of it. Not all the way, just enough to notice, just enough that you've started waking at 2, maybe 3 in the morning with a question you can't quite even understand or finish. Something like, is this it? And then you stop yourself because what are you going to say? You have everything. And what kind of person has everything and still feels empty? Well, you do. And hear me, you're not broken for feeling it. That feeling is not a flaw. It's a signal, a very specific one. And it keeps coming back no matter what you try. Not because you haven't tried hard enough, but because everything you've tried has been aimed at the wrong thing. Real quick, let me tell you what this isn't so you can relax. This isn't a motivational talk. I'm not going to tell you to, journal more or start a gratitude practice or go find your why. You've done all that, and it probably helped for a week, maybe a day or 2, but then it faded because it was aimed at the surface of something that lives a lot deeper. So let me take you underneath fast, and then I'm going to show you exactly where this is hiding in your own life. When you say the joy just drained out, drained by what exactly? Not your job. You've probably changed roles, maybe even companies, and the feeling followed you. It's not a city, not a relationship. You've changed those too, and it came right back along, which tells you it was never about the circumstances. Now, here's what I found after 30 years of this work. That emptiness is disconnection. It's a communication breakdown. And I don't mean the way you talk to other people. I mean something bigger. Underneath everything, communication is reciprocity. A message is sent, received, and sent back. A loop that closes. And you've got 3 of those loops running whether you know it or not. The loop between you and yourself, the loop between you and the people you love, and the loop between you and something larger than you. When they're closing, you feel alive, connected, on purpose. When they go quiet, you feel exactly what you've been feeling, empty. Here, but not quite here. You've gone a little deaf to yourself and a little unreachable to everyone else. Does that make sense? That's the drain, not a character flaw, not depression, although it can wear depression's clothes. It's the loops going quiet. Now, let me show you where those quiet loops are actually hiding in your life right now. This takes about 2 minutes, and I want you to actually do this exercise with me. You can say the numbers out loud, or you could grab something to write on, because what you're about to see, you're not going to be able to unsee. I'm going to give you 4 dimensions that every human life has. I want you to score yourself in each one of those, 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. Don't ever think it. Just notice what comes up. So here's dimension 1. This is your external individual life, your career, your achievements, your finances, your health, the visible stuff, the things that show up on a resume or a LinkedIn profile. It's the outside things that people see. 1 to 10. How developed is this part of your life? Say it out loud or write it down. Now, most of you probably just landed on a 7 at least, maybe an 8 or a 9. And some of you, you're at a 10. That's good. Just hold that number. Dimension 2, your internal individual life. Not what you project, what you actually feel when you're alone at 2 in the morning, when the house is quiet and there's no one to perform for. Your inner peace, the relationship with yourself, the real one. 1 to 10. Be honest. Nobody's watching you score this. Now feel the gap between that number and the first one. That gap is not a mystery. That gap is a map. So let's move to dimension 3. The depth of your closest relationships, not how many people you know, but do the people closest to you actually know you, the real, unperformed version? Can you say, I'm struggling out loud to someone without it costing you something? 1 to 10. And dimension 4, your impact on the world around you. The communities, family, the systems and organizations you're part of. Are they genuinely better because of how you show up, because it matters to you? 1 to 10. Now look at what you just did. The first and the fourth, the external, visible, provable dimensions, those probably scored high. Those are where the ego thrives. But the second and the third, your inner world and the real quality of your closest relationships, for a lot of you, those numbers dropped. And that's not a coincidence. Those two are exactly where the soul lives. They've been starved. Now, here's why nothing you've tried has worked. Every program, every book, every retreat was developing the dimensions you were probably already strong in. So you've been pouring water into a full glass while the empty one sits there beside it. And no amount of extra success in the full dimensions is ever going to fill the empty ones. So let me tell you what's exactly causing that gap, and then the one shift that closes it. You have 2 operating systems running inside you, not just as a metaphor, in how you actually function day to day. The first I call the ego operating system. It's the one you know. It wakes up before you do, already scanning. What does this room need from me? Where's the risk? What do I have to deliver? How am I measuring up? And I want you to really hear this. That system isn't your enemy. It kept you safe. It made you successful. And for the first 15, 20, or maybe more years of your life, surviving and succeeding were the same thing. And this operating system was magnificent at both. And you should thank it. But at some point, you won. You built the safety. You achieved the success. And survival as a job was actually done. But the ego operating system, it didn't stop. It really doesn't know how. So it runs the same old code in a life that isn't under threat. It's still scanning for danger that isn't there, even creating some, still driving you to prove and perform and achieve in a life that already has. The engine's running on full speed with nowhere left to drive. And what it's burning through now is you, your joy, your presence, your sense of why any of it mattered. That's the emptiness. And it's what it feels like when a survival system runs a life that no longer needs saving. Now, there's a second operating system, and it's been there the whole time. Quiet, waiting. I call it the soul operating system. And before that word loses anybody, I don't really mean that religiously, and I don't mean it mystically. Call it your true self, your essence, your core. Could even call it the divine, if that's your language. I call it soul because it's the most honest word I have for the part of you that isn't afraid. It's not performing and has been trying to get a word in for years. It runs on meaning, on connection, on presence. It's the part of you that breaks through now and then, like a sunset that stops you in mid-sentence, or a moment with your kids where time just seems to disappear. Right before the ego grabs the controls back, because it always grabs them back. That's its job. And none of this means you tear anything down. It's not about replacing you. It's like going from a PC to a Mac. The same machine, same you, but a whole new way of running it. So how do you change which one is in charge? It starts first and foremost with something almost nobody does. You have to learn to see it. Right now, these two voices, we'll call them, sound identical in your head. They both feel like you thinking. The first move is learning to step back and watch the loud one work. Notice it instead of being it. I and many others call this witnessing. And it is the door, because you cannot change what you cannot see. But I'll be honest with you, because a door is not a destination. Seeing the loud voice is not what changes your life. What changes your life is learning to hear the quiet one and then trust it. And that word, trust, is the whole game. Because here's what almost nobody tells you. The ego operating system cannot trust. It's built to scan for threats, to keep walls up. That's its entire job. Only the soul can truly trust. And without trust, not one of your loops can close. Not with yourself, not with the people you love, not with anything larger. Trust is what lets the message through. It's the whole difference between being surrounded and being seen. So what actually needs to change? This is where most people brace for me to say, everything, blow it all up. Quit the job, leave the marriage, sell the house. And that's the fear. And it's the wrong answer, because the outside of your life probably isn't the problem. The problem is which operating system is running it. What needs to change is control. Which voice is in charge? And you can shift that without torching a single thing you've already built. It doesn't take obliteration. It takes three things: curiosity, courage, and commitment. And that's a very different price than the one you've been afraid of. The shift happens in three movements. Let me name them so you can see the whole arc. And the first one is intrapersonal. This is you and you. Learning to tell the two voices apart inside your own head so you can finally choose which one to follow. That's the witnessing, the hearing, and the trusting. The second is interpersonal, you and the people in your life. Because even once you hear the soul inside yourself, or can begin to, the ego is still running the relationships, running conflicts, running the walls you throw up when someone gets too close. This is where those closest relationships, the one that scored low, start to come back. Not through technique alone, through trust. And the third is transpersonal, you and something larger than yourself. This is where meaning and purpose actually live. And it's where you meet the thing my clients are most surprised by. You spend your whole life believing wholeness is something out there that you have to get. It's like a destination. You earn it. And what you discover is that you were never broken, actually never separate, never missing a thing. You're complete, uniquely made on purpose, for a purpose. We are, every one of us, the light. We just forgot. I call the truth of who you really are your soul ID. And coming home to it is the whole point of the work. Underneath all of these movements is one foundational daily practice. And it's not an hour of meditation. It's actually around 7 minutes. It's a structured 7 minutes that moves through 3 centers of intelligence, body, heart, and head, and starts shifting you from ego to soul in real time. In your body, not just as an idea. But that 7 minutes is the ground it all stands on. And here's what I want you to notice. What happened a few minutes ago when you scored yourself across those 4 dimensions and felt the gap? That was the soul operating system waking up a little bit. That's what it does. It sees clearly. It sees what the ego has been keeping just out of view behind all the busyness. And once you've seen it, you really can't unsee it. That's how real change begins. Not with motivation, not with hype, but with a shift in what you're finally able to see. So if what you saw resonated, if you looked at those 4 dimensions and recognized your own life, hear one more thing. The emptiness you've been carrying is not a life sentence. I know it's felt like one, and maybe for a long time. But that small shift you just felt, that change in how you see the whole thing, that's the beginning. That's the quiet voice, the one that's been waiting for you to stop long enough to hear it and finally get through. You're not broken. You never were. You're just being called home to the part of you that was whole the entire time. I'm Mary Lazier-Smith. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I'd be honored to help you take the next step.